Good morning, guys. Adam Patterson here, and welcome to Freight Brokering 101. Freight Brokering 101, basically, what your day is going to consist of is A, speaking back and forth between carriers, negotiating rates for loads that you might have. And then you might be asking, well, where do these loads come from? And the answer is you got to call manufacturers, shippers, distributors, resellers, co-packers, and see if you can move their freight. Basically, your day is pretty much filled on the phone and making emails or sending off emails, rather. That's pretty much what everything looks like on a day-to-day basis. It's nothing too spectacular. Most days, you're just pretty much making phone calls in terms of you make a sales call or you make a marketing call, as I would call the opening sides of everything. And that's pretty much what you do. It's not anything crazy, but Freight Brokering 101, once you start, you're going to have to learn about modes of transportation. What you're doing is trying to offer transportation logistics services to people with freight. Basically, you make phone calls and you say, hello, I'm Adam with XYZ Company, Patterson Logistics, looking to speak with someone in charge of transportation logistics who might manage your freight accounts. And then you get passed on to somebody and you say, hi, John, Adam here with Patterson Logistics, 3PL, non-asset based freight brokerage, and basically just wanted to learn about your process of how to become a carrier partner with you. Reason for the call specifically to you is that I work out of your area. I work out of X region and we move about 20 to 40 truckloads per week out of your area. Just wanted to see if you had anything that we might be able to take a look at where we might be able to help capacity wise or rate wise. And they might give you an answer, they might not. You could say something like that. That's not my exact pitch, but you could say something pretty much like that. And usually people will give you some form of answer. That's always a good thing. And from there, your days you still spend on the phone. It's not anything where you're going to spend a lot of time not on the phone, but that's pretty much what your day looks like. I wish I could actually record true phone calls for you. Living in Tennessee, you're not allowed to record phone calls without getting permission, and I'm not going to call a shipper and then say, "Hey, do I have your permission to put you on recording right now?" It would be weird to me, and I'm sure it would be weird to somebody else as well. That's kind of my take on it. But basically, what my schedule looks like on a day-to-day basis, I'll kind of just walk you through everything. Okay, well, maybe it's deleted here. Why is it deleted? Let's pop it up. From 8 a.m. to 9:30 is called check calling, which is where you check call on your freight. You check with your drivers to make sure that they're going to make it to delivery. You check with your pickup drivers to make sure that they're going to make it to pickup. And I do that from 8 to 9:30. It usually doesn't take that long to call your drivers. From the remaining time that I have left, I actually sit down at 6:30 to 7. I start calling at 7. From 7 until 9:30, I call my drivers and then I reach out to carrier partners in my shipping and receiving areas and just try and build relationships with them. And then from 9:30 till 12:30, when the stock market opens, I check that right away. But in terms of freight brokerage, I make cold calls and send off cold emails in those hours. As long as I get somebody's email from the phone call, I never just email first. I always make a cold call. I always try to reach somebody on the phone. And then of course I take a lunch break from 12:30 to 1:30. And then I come right back. And from 1:30 to 3:30, I make more cold calls and send off more cold emails. The day is mainly focused around trying to gather more business. So you can call your customers in the morning. I do call my customers in the morning. I also send them emails first thing in the morning, but you're always trying to gather more business and try to earn new business. And then from 3:30 until 4:30, any freight that I do not have covered for the next day, which is very rare for me, I run a lot of dedicated freight, which means that I've built relationships with carriers in my shipping and receiving areas. And I run lanes that match up with them. I just kind of send them over something at like the beginning of a week or whenever I know I'm going to have it. And they pretty much just take it every time. But anything that is of random, what's called a spot load, which is like a one-time shipment, you post it out to a spot board and you work on covering it for the next day. And you want to walk into the next day with all of your freight covered. And then into the nighttime from there, I'm covering freight. And then in the after hours, I'm lead generating. So I'm like looking up lists where I could find potential customers or prospects to reach out to. And then I'm adding them into my CRM system in the after hours. I also do it on weekends. I spend my Sundays doing that. It will look different for everybody, especially if you go to work for a different company or a company of your own, or somebody's company. You're not going to exactly run it the way that I do. I started at a large freight brokerage and then went out on my own. All things can and will look different. They might have you do different things. They might have call numbers for you, quotas, etc. You're just going to have to learn how to work within someone's framework if that is what you have to do. I think it's always great to go out and work for a big freight brokerage where you can work around people who have been in the industry. If you're actually looking to learn from people who have been in the industry a long time, I would recommend looking at smaller freight brokerages. Your large powerhouses there tends to be a lot of burnout. And what you find there is the people who are higher up are very tenured and the people who are not so high up are brand new. And even the people in middle management, probably like a year or two. And then there's been a lot of burnout along the way. But it never turns out to be very much fun. But it's a great place to start. I would recommend nearly any brokerage to start at. I would not recommend a TQL if you're looking for one, only because they don't have the greatest reputation when it comes to carriers in the space. And that's really the only reason why I wouldn't recommend them. I don't have any insider information. I've never spoken with anyone who worked for TQL. Actually, I spoke with one and they didn't really have anything negative to say. You could go there. I just know that when you go and start there, they put you through like a 6-month trial period where you can't make commissions on any customers that you earn. And if you don't land customers in that time, you might be let go. But you'd have to speak with them. You could do all your interview process and ask all the questions. Yeah, that's kind of freight brokering 101. It's mainly being on the phones. It's trying to earn business and get someone to give you a shot at earning their business. You need to know about modes of transportation and where you actually fit into the space. You can do international shipping in terms of ocean and air. You could do, once it hits the port, what's called drayage, where you take a container from the port and bring it into a transloading warehouse or just a warehouse of your customers, and then take the container back to the port. You can do over the road truckload. You can do dedicated or expedite, which are typically smaller shipments, which go on a box truck or a sprinter van. You can do less than truckload, which runs with your LTL carriers. And then, of course, you could buy your own trucks if you wanted to get into that type of space and become like an asset-based carrier. But that's everything in terms of freight brokerage 101. It's not everything, obviously, but it is the initial rundown. And we can go into different modes of transportation if you guys are interested in what that could be and what that could mean. But yeah, that's everything in this one. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys had fun.